Hello, kia ora, g'day, I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia-only forecast for the next 7 days. We've got a few things going on at the moment. We've got severe tropical cyclone Errol off Western Australia. We've got another low pressure zone off the top end. That one could also form into a storm, although for now it doesn't look like any kind of threat on a serious level for Australia. And we've got an ex-tropical cyclone in the Tasman Sea giving Norfolk Island and Lord Howe Island some severe weather potential with the strong winds and some heavy rain showers around, and that's affecting some of the eastern coastline too. Last part, some convergence around the southern half of Western Australia, seeing some good decent rain coming through there over the next couple of days. So let's break it down for you. Category 4, when we recorded this, Tropical Cyclone Errol. Now it's pretty powerful. It's taken a long time to form, by the way. It was announced by the Joint Typhoon Warning Centre, that's the global tropical storm forecaster. They announced it on Sunday morning. It took the Bureau of Meteorology a few more days because they have a different criteria, a bit more stricter, I think. And now out at sea, it's really grown. It's likely to curve around and come back in to the Kimberly. Broome is at risk of getting some very heavy rain, but we do expect the storm to weaken as it does so. There is that other tropical low, keeping an eye on that one. Low pressure in Western Australia, encouraging some of those heavy downpours that are on the way. Southerly winds, though, coming all the way up past Carnarvon and right up close to Errol on the other side. In fact, that southerly helping to spin the low pressure zone. That's part of the reason it's severe now. And of course on the eastern side with ex-tropical cyclone Tam, that's bringing a southerly wind also to the eastern side of Australia. So we've got a few things going on around the nation, although not necessarily a lot of dramatic weather over land. So let's kick off the forecast. Here we are on Friday with that sinking area of low pressure in Western Australia. Esperance Goldfields area likely to see some thunderstorms. Some of those could be severe with some pretty heavy rain, or 50-60 millimeters potential in just one day coming through for you. Mostly dry elsewhere, but look, we've got the Cyclone Errol coming in towards Broome, just to the north we think. The other low here near the Gulf of Carpentaria. Elsewhere, just a couple of coastal showers. There is not a lot going on. Tasmania's got a few showers as well with a slight westerly flow. Here's a closer view of the cyclone. So, it was low pressure not very long ago. Category 1, 2, jumps to 4, went to 3 last night. Category 4 when we recorded this, and look at the turnaround, like a Aussie term, but it's like a boomerang coming back around. Category 3, 2, 1, low pressure once it hits land. So this is serious. Now the two different things to point out. The line here is the Bureau's tracking. The low is the American modelling. So there's a bit of difference between the two. That's very normal as well as you see these lows coming through. So it might come closer to Broome. If it does, you could have wind damage from it if it's category 1. Otherwise, it's going to bring in hopefully some good rain that you need. But again, it could be too much of a good thing. Sometimes these systems are. So Saturday, you can see it comes inland, falls apart, rain event. So it's going to top up some of the rainwater tanks. Although, fine line between the rain. Broome is often missing out on these rain events. The rain might not go very far south. Now look at the low that came out of Australia and the southerly that sort of helped create it. Blowing the southerly in, showers all along the southern coastline of South Australia. It's going to be a little bit helpful, but it's not a huge amount. So if you're lucky, you'll get 10 millimeters. Otherwise, you're in the single digits as those showers come around. But they do blow in around Adelaide as well as that low moves eastwards. High pressure out to the east here, so not a lot going on for most other places. In fact, a warmer, windier northerly wind coming in there for Melbourne and other parts of Victoria. On Sunday, the low spreads out, so those northerly winds get pushed out to sea. Canberra, Sydney, Port Macquarie, up to Brisbane even, getting those northwesterly winds. Dry, warm to hot, depending on where you are, and the low here deepens. So Kangaroo Island to Adelaide, keep an eye on this, could create a burst of gales, but it's a pretty borderline system, to be honest with you. And again, not a lot of rain here. These are showers, but the green zone, that's 10 millimeters or so. Get a bit of that on the west coast. Elsewhere, not a lot to talk about in Western Australia, but you've got the easterly winds blowing from central areas of Northern Territory and South Australia straight out across. So it's going to be hot again for you in the west. Humid, very humid around the Kimberly and the Pilbara with the leftovers of Errol. And here is that potential in the Gulf of Carpentaria on Sunday. That might form into a tropical cyclone. Doesn't look too big at this stage. And we've got tropical showers north of Cairns. South of that, a few showers, but not really much going on. Still those windy or warm, not necessarily windy, but warm nor'westers blowing around Sydney. Monday of next week, the low that was in Victoria drifts over towards the Tasman and New South Wales, kind of moves upwards, even getting close to the Queensland coastline. That's going to see a few thunderstorms around with the instability and some heavier downpours sort of east of Melbourne, heading in towards the mountains and up towards sort of Canberra. That's where you got a chance of some of the heavier falls there. Elsewhere around Victoria and South Australia, hit and miss showers, not necessarily adding up to a lot. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm just trying to sort of give you the full picture there. If you want rain, may not be a lot, but if you need a little bit of rain, you've got a little bit coming. But this big high is pretty solid, stretching all the way up into the Northern Territory, and in fact goes even further northwards by the time we get to Tuesday. There's that tropical disturbance coming into the top end, could produce some pretty heavy rain, but it's in a remote part of Australia, not at this stage a real threat. Showers here and there, leftovers of Errol, so very hot, humid weather sticking around the northwest, and we've just got a couple of other showers around Western Australia. The main event really on Tuesday is this low that is around the Queensland-New South Wales border, and that's going to produce some heavy rain southwards, getting down around the Sydney zone. So it could be 60 millimetres or so in just a day. Worth noting, this far out, it could move up and down a wee bit or even a bit further out to sea. So don't lock it in totally, but you can see an easterly flow out of the Tasman Sea from the New Zealand area, blowing in showers and rain in the east. Tasmania doesn't get much because you're pretty much under high pressure. Similar story to much of Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia as well. By Wednesday of next week, the leftovers of Errol continue to sort of drift down into the central part of Western Australia. There'll be a few showers, maybe a few thunderstorms, but the pale blue means it's not going to add up to much. Albany westwards, you've got a few showers, perhaps a bit more. That tropical disturbance in the top end, whether it's a cyclone or just a tropical low, doesn't look like a cyclone yet, but it does produce some heavy rain again in the top end. And then the showers in Queensland aren't much. Queensland's mostly dry, certainly central Australia, very dry. Much of New South Wales is dry, but the rain is falling on the eastern side. So coastal rain around the fringes of the eastern side of Australia. The western side's perhaps got a better chance of that rain or showery weather building up inland. Okay, let's go to Thursday now. So we'll start with the high pressure zone coming in towards Western Australia. That actually encourages a windy southeasterly and another area here of a trough, as I would call it, sort of a pothole in the sky. It's the beginning of a low pressure zone, and that helps encourage some of those southeasterlies to pick up and the chance of some of those wet conditions going all the way inland as well. Tropical low north of Darwin doesn't appear to be affecting Darwin in any way. The usual kind of showers around Queensland's coastline, mostly dry for Queensland, and not as hot and humid either as it's been, with some of that wind coming out from more towards New Zealand. It's not cold, but it's just not as hot and humid. And we're seeing that rain still stuck. Port Macquarie, Grafton, going up towards the northern rivers, going up to the border. It's not massive rainfall, but you know, another 30 or 40, and you add that up each day, it does start to build up a bit. Tassie, few showers in the west, not a lot happening around Victoria and Tasmania, other than that sort of weak low that we saw. Let's animate the rainfall for the next 7 days. So you can see Errol over here coming in, so there is a chance around Broome that you could get some heavy falls. The tropical low up here does brush more remote parts of the top end, but that is possible. Darwin at this stage outside of the risk zone, not a lot for Queensland. And then you've got this disturbance around coastal New South Wales, Grafton to Sydney, maybe even further south than that, seeing some actual rain coming through. But once you're inland, those pale blue shaded areas, not very much. Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania, regions that need some rain, you've got a bit of hit and miss rain in there. It's not all bad news if you need rain. Some of the heavier falls from Melbourne eastwards, and then of course over here in Western Australia, the southern half of Western Australia, also seeing some of the wet weather. All right, before I go, the place of the day this week, Broome, Western Australia. I might have done this one before actually, but I figured with this Cyclone Errol around, it's worth talking about it. So there you go, population 14,600, almost 15,000, annual rainfall 628 millimetres. Weather ahead for the days ahead, pretty hot and humid. You got the high humidity with Cyclone Errol coming through. Overnight lows, 23, 26 degrees, pretty warm again with that high humidity. And rain chances, some chance today, but it's really tomorrow, Friday. That's when you are most likely to be seeing that chance of rain as Cyclone Errol comes on in. Hopefully brings good rain for you. What a cool spot. All right, that is all from me. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back again next week, but obviously with Easter, we're not around on Monday in New Zealand. It's a public holiday, so I will be back again on Tuesday with our next Australia-only video. Have a great Easter weekend.